Namaste. Myself, Dr. Avantika, I welcome you all to the second webinar today, organized under the banner of Swachhata Pakhwada. Swachhata Pakhwada, as a part of Swachhata Abhiyan, was initiated with the objective of bringing a fortnight of intense focus on the issues and practices of Swachhata, meaning cleanliness. Moving ahead in the program, I would now invite Professor Dr. K. Satyalakshmi, Director, NIN, to share her views and thoughts.
Namaste. Part of National Institute of Naturopathy's Swachhata Pakhwada. Today we are going to discuss about Mahatma Gandhi's views on Swachhata. He had given lot of importance to cleanliness and went on doing it wherever he was. Say for example, in all Gandhian ashrams, cleaning was one of the ashramites' daily routine. Everybody is expected to do some amount of cleaning, whether it is toilets or the place surrounding the buildings or inside the buildings, or go out into the road and then do some kind of that kind of self imposed duties they were doing it. So, this he made it as a part of routine for ashramites, so that they take responsibility to the waste generated by them. That is first thing, and to get out of the feeling that cleaning is somebody else's job, you know. So, this self responsibility makes one conscious that we generate waste and then it is our responsibility to clean it too. This is exactly what is happening in a machine world, wherein all the industries, it is payers' responsibility to clear the pollution. So, in a modern day, the industrial waste that is considered pollution is has a tag, that is polluter pays. It is always the polluter who should clear the debris created by the industry. So, now it is between the governments, there is this dialogue going on, who should actually reduce the pollution first. It is the developed countries which are polluting the earth, and we are in a limited space. We all know that we are heading towards a bigger calamity than the pandemic that we have seen recently, that the climate change is going to pose, and unseen rains, droughts and ice caps melting is creating a big havoc, and temperatures are also rising on the other. So, to understand the entire dynamics of this waste, from waste how it is escalated to the level of climate change, it is all human made. That is, we are entering into a Anthropocene era. The Anthropocene era is a human conditioned situation. So, in the end, like the dinosaurs, the human species may perish, but then nature will prevail. With this, we must understand the Gandhian principle of the mother earth can give sufficient to everybody's needs, but not the greed. With this, I think today we have to repurpose ourselves to understand the waste generated by us and reclaim it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for beautifully introducing our topic for today's webinar. And now we all know that Swachhata was close to Bapu's heart, and he always emphasized on cleanliness. We have with us today Dr. Naina Atle. She has worked with government and NGOs for the empowerment of children and women at high risk. She has a doctorate in the behavioral sciences. Her work has helped strengthen civil society's engagement with waste management and climate change in India, Europe, and America as well. She is the coordinator of the Gandhian Fellowship Program running at NIN Pune. And her topic for today is creating Swachh Bharat from trash and treasures, a Gandhian perspective to waste management and treating trash as best friends. So it's our privilege that we have ma'am with us. Over to you, ma'am, for your talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Avantika. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on an important topic, that too from the Gandhian perspective. And again, of course, thank you for your kind words and for that introduction. I think about 3 years ago, we began the Gandhi Fellowship Program, which encourages a lot of professionals and young people to participate in uh, promoting the ideas of Gandhiji. And today we will particularly look at a Gandhian perspective to waste management. And at this department, we also conduct a lot of other programs, such as trainings and seminars and so on. So please be with us on the website and follow us maybe on the Facebook also. And Dr. Avantika has been, working very hard to promote this through the social media and our website as well. At NIN, we also, as you know, it is one place where nature cure is given so much importance, and each one of us here believes that somehow the body is very intelligent, and if we cooperate with the body and the five elements, then we can do a lot of preventive work in the area of illness, prevent illness and have better lives and lifestyles. At NIN, we also have this magazine called Nisargopchar, which comes out with very interesting articles on nature cure, and there are also other publications. I would encourage you to subscribe to it and enjoy the magazine and also contribute whenever you can. Having said that, my my interest in Gandhiji is because I was born in Pune. I am fortunate that there is the Aga Khan Palace here, and also the NIN where Gandhiji stayed. As a child, I remember my parents bringing me to the Aga Khan Palace, and as a little girl, I would look around and ask about Gandhi and his philosophy and all of that. So Mahatma Gandhi ji has stayed with us since we were children, and I'm learning more and more as I go by. Um, then my engagement with waste management. Uh, I mean, we all begin as children to understand what to do with waste. I remember quarreling with my brother and saying, no, no, today I'm not going to go and throw the trash. We had to walk about half a kilometer to one dustbin where we could, throw our community trash. And then there would be this fight every day that, no, I'm not going today, you go instead and all. And I would hide and all that sort of thing, because it was embarrassing to carry your trash in your hand and to go, and then I used to be scared also because there would be maybe little rats, cockroaches or whatever around, and then there were all these street urchins or these boys on the side. So it was quite an event throwing trash, in this community dustbin. Although we lived in a rather very typically middle class area, which was kind of safe and all of that, which had enough trees, and there were nice people around us, people with maybe a cycle or a scooter. I'm talking about my younger days as a child, and of course now everybody has scooters and cars and all of that. So it was then, and I think, yeah, my engagement began with waste then, and then as a professional, when I started work, there were two projects that I took up in my earlier organization, and this organization worked particularly for women and children at high risk. And these two projects were in Bombay and Delhi, and they were all around children and women who worked in landfills. And believe me, I was a changed person after I began working with them. So I'll take you through that little journey of mine. And What I would like to share with you is there was recently a study in Hyderabad, and they did a very in-depth study of what happens with waste in households. And it was found that it is the privileged and the middle class families that generate maximum waste. So it really becomes our responsibility to look at waste management from a perspective of responsibility, and how not managing waste is causing disasters for not only our health but the environment as a whole. I'll also, if there is time, if Dr. Avantika allows me, then I would like to share with you a few studies we have done with media and children on climate change and how waste management is affecting this and creating carbon footprints. So, this is an important topic. And I have always wondered why scavengers or waste pickers don't get paid more than some of the others. And that is where I think the Gandhian perspective comes in. So, Dr. Avantika, you can share the PPT. Yeah. So it's a slightly lengthy presentation with lots of slides. I'd hoped for 6, but I think it's run into 13. If I'm running out of time, please tell me, Dr. Avantika, so we can keep it short. So the Swachh Bharat mission, as you know, began on 2nd October at Rajghat 2014, and it was inaugurated by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And it concurs with Goal 6 and Target 6.2 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which talks about improved water and sanitation. If you look at Goal 6, you will find that there are many targets, but it is 6.2 that Swachh Bharat Mission really focuses on. That is improved water and sanitation. uh, Going back to the mission, Narendra Modi ji said he compared it with Gandhiji's Champaran movement, and he called it Satyagraha se Swachhagraha. So we have all he said he encouraged every one of us to become, like warriors to save the environment and manage waste. No? So the Swachh Bharat mission is about that. Next slide, please. Yeah, Gandhiji in ecology. There is this gentleman called Vinay Lal. This is the only slide I would like to read out to you. He said, "What if Gandhiji asks, what if Gandhiji asks, nature was the bearer of rights? Just as we human beings have rights, what if nature had rights? What would nature have to say on this subject?" No less remarkably, though Gandhiji wrote no ecological treatise. He never, talked about ecology or any of those things. In particularly, he made one of his life. That means his own life was an example. This is one life in which every minute, act, emotion, or thought was not without its place. The brevity of Gandhiji's enormous writings, his small meals of nuts and fruits, his morning ablutions, and everyday bodily gestures, his periodic observations of silence, his morning walks, his cultivation of the small as much as the big, his his the absence of waste, his respect for fasting, all those point to the I can't read that to the manner in which he orchestrated the symphony of life. No philosopher of ecology would have done as much. So it was really the way he lived his life. It spoke about his respect for nature, Mother Nature, how we can protect. how he constantly encouraged us not to be only consumers. No, he was totally against this consumeristic kind of lifestyle, and his in his own life, he protected environment by fasting, by keeping silence on certain days. So these were examples from which we can learn. No? So, like they say, walk your talk. So here was a man who really, walked his talk, and it was ecology that he was, protecting through his actions. No? We go to the next slide. Yeah, Music of the Spinning Wheel is a book by Sudhindra Kulkarni. And he wrote this in 2012. It's a very interesting, beautifully written book. And he talks about Gandhiji and the five things that Gandhiji was known for. He said sanitation, these were some of his quotes and from his writings in the, Harijan. Sanitation, he said, is more important than political independence. Now, I think our president also quoted this recently. And then he said that unless and until people had good health and sanitation, independence made it was of no importance per se. What is the use of independence when the people are so ill, and they are not aware of their rights and what they should do about sanitation, water, and so on. Then religion and sanitation is interesting. He went for a Kumbh Mela in Haridwar, and he said he was amazed to see the mother Ganges. No, her majesty, her beauty was so overwhelming. And then he looked at people who were dirtying the waters, and he said, "What is the use of this kind of religious teaching, which does not teach you how to respect your rivers?" No, so he came away feeling very sad, and he expressed his sadness in one of his writings again. Then he says a lavatory must be as clean as a drawing room. He said when he went to the West, he realized that yes, it's so important for the lavatory to be clean, because a lot of diseases come from there. And then why is it that only the drawing room should be, so neat and tidy? Why not the lavatory? Then perfect sanitation makes an ideal village. When he talked about villages, the rural parts of India, he was one person who was against things like open defecation, and he said each village should have enough toilets. People should be aware of sanitation. Yes, this was an answer to a question asked by one of his, people in his movement. What can we do for villages? And he said perfect sanitation makes an ideal village. Then sanitations for ministers and menials alike. When after independence, he says he went to the houses of many ministers, and there were workers who were keeping the ministers' houses clean and bathrooms clean. But when he went to the house of these people, the menials, menials, for want of a better word, when he went to the house of these workers or the maids, he found that their toilets, their houses were still so dirty. So he said, no, this is injustice. Therefore, I think sanitation is a basic right, and ministers, menials alike should, have this. Uh, Dr. Avantika, may I request if this can be, enlarged a bit, because I'm having trouble reading. If it can be made slideshow or something.
Ma'am, that way it won't come. It won't be visible in Google Meet, ma'am.
Okay.
That's how it comes on Google Meet.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Why manage waste? So, when we talk about waste, what is it that we are talking about? So, waste is usually divided into three major categories. You all may be aware of it. Organic, which is biodegradable. You can convert it into something else. If you, I mean, it just gets washed away, or it is destroyed totally. That is organic waste. And then there is dry waste, which you can recycle. Yeah. Then there is biomedical waste and e-waste. Now, these are two areas, biomedical waste and e-waste, we don't know what to do. Then there's also something, because it involves plastic. A lot of it has plastic in it. So, what do we do with that plastic? Is a huge question there. So, it is sometimes recyclable, sometimes it is not. a lot of research has to go into how we can recycle some of our biomedical waste and e-waste. Uh, then unmanaged, what happens when we do not manage waste? It obviously leads to diseases, all kinds of diseases, increase in mosquitoes and the problems that mosquitoes bring. But more so, it contaminates the air and water, and this leads to all kinds of disease. And India is rampant with it. They say that doctors who work in India, who work as interns in India, they are the best in the world because they are exposed to so many, a plethora of diseases, and people who come with all kinds of complications because of the problems that waste has brought in, huh? Then unmanaged waste leads to issues of child labor, violation of human rights, gender issues. You see, we still have a caste system in our country, and it is found that it is people from, yeah, perfect. I think it's much better now. Thank you so much. It is these people who work as still as menial laborers, or are still scavenging and picking up waste, especially in the villages. If you go, again, there is a caste system that dictates who will collect waste and who will manage waste, so it is never the upper castes that do it. So again, this not being able to manage waste, or having a sort of a consensus between within civil society about how do we treat waste, can lead to all these issues, and it just keeps escalating, right? So a lot of families, if you look at the waste picker families, women are forced to go and work in the landfills, to pick up material so that they can sell in the market and all of that. So then environmental degradation, I think we all know that uh, not being able to manage waste leads to all kinds of problems with water. And if you look at animals and birds, they've been eating plastic from the trash cans, and in the cities, especially, also in the villages, and they fall ill. And if you remember, there was a mad cow disease years ago, and it's found that a lot of birds are dying because they eat some of these poisonous things from the landfills, or from other trash cans. So eating plastic leads to death and problems. Then mental health is obviously compromised if we are constantly living and seeing dirt and unmanaged waste around us. It's obviously going to make us feel uneasy. And what do we teach our children? How do we teach our children when they're seeing all this waste lying around? And sometimes children open their chocolate wrappers, and they don't know where to throw because there's no dustbin around. So we obviously advise the mother that carry one little bag with you, put all the trash in that. When you come home, throw it there in the house or whatever. So it's like hygiene and cleanliness and managing waste definitely leads to better mental health. You feel more comfortable in your environment, surroundings, and you feel safer. So it brings down anxiety, it brings down that level of fear, of being in an unprotected environment, wondering if some mosquito will bite you and what will happen, and all of that, right? Yeah. So so what is the government doing about waste management? So the government has promised something like 62,000 crores, to for this Swachh Bharat mission, and a lot of this money is going to be spent on solid waste management, which means recycling of waste, and also on individual household toilets and public awareness and community toilets. Almost 655 crores on community toilets. So that's the kind of commitment the government has given through the Swachh Bharat mission, to make India a cleaner place and to manage waste. Then, of course, it's our taxes. As common people, we pay taxes, and I think there was a 5% increase in our cess, our tax, after 2014, when the Swachh Bharat mission began. So we are paying tax as our duty, but we also then have a right to question, what is the government doing? what are local governments doing about the money that we are giving as taxes, right? What is India like? What is the waste generation in India like? So 2020 total solid waste generated in India was around 42 million tons annually. Huh? So, and what is the efficiency with which it is managed? It says between 50 to 90%. That means there are some cities, some areas like Bangalore and Pune manage their waste very well. And there are some places where it is very badly managed. No? So, India accounts for almost 18% of the world's population and 12% of global municipal solid waste generation. And there are some countries that buy waste from other countries, like Sweden. They don't have any waste. Everything, gets, so they buy waste from other countries to recycle, which is very unusual. But here we don't know what to do with our waste, huh? And it ends up in the landfills. This is something we have to really seriously look at. Then, with India's population continuously increasing, this problem of waste generation, how to manage, will become a central theme for all governments, no? And it will become a responsibility of all of us to manage waste. Otherwise, we are going to suffer because of illnesses and bad environment, climate change, and all of that. Yeah. Okay, waste management, the mantra has been recycle, reuse, and reduce. So majority of India's waste is organic, which means there is tremendous opportunity to compost a lot of it. But to make it possible, Indians need to adopt the practice of segregating waste at its source. That means a lot of our waste can be used for composting, and it can be used in a better way. But the problem is segregating wet and dry waste at its source. You don't expect all the waste to go to the recycling place and then for people to do it. It is very uh, uh, it costs a lot of money, and it is very labor intensive. So if people, each one of us, take on the responsibility of segregating waste at the home level or at the restaurant level, then work becomes a lot easier for the next steps to happen. What happens if we don't if we don't segregate waste? Invariably it goes to the landfills, and it is burnt. Waste is burnt, and this causes major air pollution, and it increases the greenhouse emission. Okay, and the immediate effect is that local air quality will get very badly contaminated. The best case is, of course, in Delhi. There are, I think, three landfills in Delhi, and invariably the waste is burnt because that much vigilance is not there. The police cannot always be after, these contractors or people who are living near the landfills, and that has that has increased the pollution of air quality in Delhi. Then we know that respiratory diseases invariably increase when the air gets contaminated, and then this is obviously adding to the global warming scenario. We in India, we've been talking a lot about integrated solid waste management. So the four functional aspects of this is source reduction, recycling, composting, waste transportation, and landfilling. So all these things can either work together, or they can work in a hierarchy. Yeah. So this again calls for a large budget if it is done properly. Source reduction, recycling, composting, all this, like I said, it's labor intensive, and it requires research and development of certain equipment that you can use for recycling. And how do we transport our waste? It is very I'm not if you have seen how these municipal trucks take our garbage, have you seen ever? If you have, then you will notice that it doesn't have a proper cover. So most of the garbage is falling out. Again, it's also because of the way we segregate our trash. If we have not doing the dry and wet segregation properly, then the waste is just dumped in these trucks, and he goes in full speed. This municipal truck fellow, he goes in full speed, and they look extremely dirty. Those, and you avoid it because it smells. So then, you take your car on the side and you wait. Otherwise, let other cyclists, scooterists go ahead, and then avoid this, garbage truck. Um, I'd like to share that once I was at a training in Canada, and that was my first day, and I had to go some 2.5 kilometers away to a class, and I was totally lost. So I saw a gentleman in a truck, So I walked up to him and said, "Excuse me, can you please leave me till that classroom?" So he said, "Are you sure you want to go with me?" I said, "Yeah, please let me go with you." So I sat in his truck and I reached my place, and then I realized that it was a garbage truck. So he was like our municipal guys who carry garbage. It was like that, but it was so clean. To me, it was like a BMW. The garbage truck. So that's the kind of difference, no. So that mindfulness is not that you have to take the waste properly. Otherwise, again, it was going to contaminate the air and cause diseases and all of that. Then we come to landfilling. See, when waste is not recycled, it is just taken to the landfill, open plots of land, and it is dumped over there. So huge there. I mean, if you, I would advise you all to visit one of these landfills one day. Yeah, because any one of you who's complaining about life or about your relationships or whatever, this is an excellent opportunity. It's like therapy. You will psychological therapy. You will get over it because you'll see this really bad side of our country. The landfills, and it's appalling. We'll come to that again a little later. So, what are the challenges for waste management? It is basically lack of awareness. A simple thing like segregation of waste. I think we take it very casually, and we're just not aware that it can cause so many long-term uh, problems, and it is one of the major reasons for diseases not to go away from our country. Then also there's the political will that is lacking. When we come to good practice, we'll see how a decision taken at a political level can help waste management and can secure good health for the people. But if there is no political will, then it's very difficult to tackle this issue of waste management. Then what is the quality of recycled goods? We are talking so much about recycling, but when we recycle, is it of good quality, or is it still the bad plastic that we are using? Has it become worse? So this is an area where we again need a lot of money and labor and a lot of research to see if the quality of these recycled goods are worthy, or they are trash. Has it become a treasure, or is it still trash? We cannot decide unless there are some side effects, and yes, in India the recycled goods are not of very good quality, so it's better not to purchase it unless it is paper or something very external. But if it again comes to issues like food, storage of food and all of that, I don't know how much we would want to buy a recycled plastic box or a bag or whatever. Then again, the government has to invest a lot in research and development. Otherwise, we will never know how recycling is affecting what the quality of recycled goods are. So this is again a political will and commitment, to research and development for solid waste management. Then this issue of population, I think somewhere we as development people in the area of development have sort of given up on population. We don't talk about it anymore. I remember once one of our directors came. He was from the EU, European Union, and he was giving us a lecture and all of that. And then he looked up at us and he said, what are you all doing about population? So he said, what population? What are you talking about? We've forgotten that issue completely. We are fighting on so many other fronts that, that's not a big deal. But I remember when I was a youngster, there was all this do bache, and there was such a lot of promotion of this idea of a small family and all of that. And that I don't see so much of it anymore. uh, yeah, so this, I think we've got desensitized to it, but this is a very serious issue, increase in population, and also the fact that a lot of us are having longer lives now. Many people are living longer because of better healthcare and improvement in their economic situation and all of that. So people are living longer. So, in effect, India is going to have a large population, which means more waste generation. And what do we do about it? Okay, we come to landfills, which are like death traps. Huh? Unmanaged waste, or yeah, it's transported to these land fills, and invariably people burn the waste. Why do they burn it? The it's a habit. Basically, it's a habit. And around the landfills, if you go, there are families living in houses over there, in like there are little slums over there. So if they find that there are some things they cannot pick from the landfill and sell to the kabadi wala, to this guy, then who takes care of trash, they sell the trash to him. And if they cannot, then what they do is they simply decide to burn it, because they feel that's going to come in the way of the use of space, or it's harmful, whatever the idea is, and they will just start burning it. So again, now this leads to emission of poisonous gases like methane. And I'm going back to these projects in Delhi and Bombay. Many of the children die by the age of 13, 12 or 13, because they would have got TB or a cancer because of the poisonous gases from the landfills, and they live very close to them, almost on the borders of these landfills. So and there is death. The women suffer from all kinds of problems, diseases, and all. And then I really would encourage you all to go and see it once, or be there. So you will change your ideas about waste and life and all of that. I remember once we were celebrating a child's birthday, and we had brought a little cake for him. And when the cake was brought into this dingy slum, and kept on this chair, suddenly there were like hundreds of flies that came and sat on that cake. So we didn't know how to even shoo them off. But the children and the family were trying their best to shoo it off and all. The only way to prevent landfills is to segregate our waste and somehow recycle whatever we can. In Bombay, the landfill is about 7 kilometers from the Mantralaya, where where all the MLAs, ministers, and all of the IS officers and all sit. So it's like two different worlds, no? The landfill right there in the middle of the city, and also the privileged surrounding these landfills. Yeah, so these are uh, the person you see there is also a human being, huh? Not a creature from outer space or something, but he's a human being like you and me, a child with rights, but he's there picking trash. Yeah, I just like to share. I'll show you this picture. Can you see this? Can you see Dr. Avantika?
No, ma'am. I have to stop sharing. Just a second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Can you guess what this is?
Can move it a little.
It's a lotus, huh?
Yeah.
Lotus design, no? Okay, so when I open it, these are stamps. So these are stamps collected by the children, and they made this out of it. They found in the landfills, in the trash. They found these little stamps, and this picture again is of. Can you see this?
Yeah.
This a little girl had found paper, this colorful paper, and she had made this. She made this little frame, and this was gifted to me when I was visiting them, this family. So if they can do it, if they can recycle, why can't we? No? So, but again, the issue is of segregation of waste. Yeah? Yeah, thank you. So, so our simple action of not segregating waste is causing child labor, is violating human rights. Now, this child is working through the day picking up trash because he can get money out of it. He will go and sell it to this scrap dealer, and he gets money. So the family is taken care of. The whole family does that. No? So there's no school, no sports, nutrition. We don't know. Uh, so we are responsible somehow for the condition of these people, the waste pickers. And there is a particular community, the Matangi community. It's a caste, especially in Maharashtra. They invariably get into rack picking because they have no other option, and they live near the landfills, and that's their life. Yeah. Okay, waste management from a Gandhian perspective. We said trash to treasure. How do we do that? Now, if you're looking at Swachh Bharat, I feel it's simply that segregation part, no? And mindful living. Can we stop being so consumeristic? Do we need, or are we needy, or are we greedy? This is a question we have to keep asking ourselves. Do we really need all those things that we are picking up? Do we need to eat so much? Do we need to drink so much? Do we need to buy all those things and fill our houses with all kinds of things that we are never going to use? And are we sharing? Are we sharing what we don't need? Are we recycling? Are we reusing? These are questions we have to ask ourselves. And then going back to what Gandhiji did about, his ideas of Swarajya, Satyagraha, and Satya. He talked about the truth. No, what is truth? So if he could lead such a mindful life, I think he definitely has a right to talk about waste management, and then it's about accountability. We have to be accountable and say this is my responsibility, no matter what. It's my responsibility for myself, my family, for my colleagues, or whatever, wherever I'm working, where I'm living. Yeah. So I believe segregation, mindful living. You can add your own things later. Commitment, accountability. I think that equals Swachh Bharat for me. Then I always ask myself these questions, which I would like to share with you. Like, what can I do within my neighborhood to manage waste? Because neighborhood is our first unit. It's our house and our neighborhood. If we can look at our neighborhood and see what we can do about waste management, it'll be excellent. Then how can I educate others? I know that a lot of people who are retired and they are looking to do some voluntary work. They have so much energy, so much experience, expertise. I feel they are the ones who can go out and educate more people, go to the bastis, talk to people in the schools, talk to teachers, simple things about segregating waste. Maybe they can carry a ppt and go there and educate others. So it's for each one of us to ask, how can I educate others, and how can I reduce consumption and waste, unnecessary, like we said, this consumeristic society that we are living in. How do we go back to living more in a more authentic way, like Gandhiji did? And how can I reduce waste? How can I reuse? I remember as children, we always used our neighbors had children who are older, so they gave us their books, or even some of the clothes. So it was shared among neighbors, no, among families. and when a little baby was born. So, the earlier baby's clothes would go to this family. So that's how we reused. And then, of course, the issue of recycling. Unless we segregate wet and dry waste, it is not possible to recycle. So please remember that we have a huge responsibility in waste management. Okay, now I know we've as Indians we get a lot of brickbats for bad waste management, but in all this, there's also one good practice that I like to highlight, which is of Pune city. Not because I'm from Pune, but because this city has, which is it's a surprise to us all also still today. But they have done something amazing. They've decentralized this whole waste management system, and there was a group of women, Purnima Chikkarmane and my childhood friend Lakshmi Narayanan. Now, these two ladies got together and they started they went to the municipal corporation and said, we will take care of all the waste pickers. We will make a union of these waste pickers and start formalizing how waste picking can be, made more professional. No? So they started a group called Swachh. Later it became, NGO called Swachh. They are doing amazing work with the municipal corporation. So they have, initially they were all given gloves and shoes to wear, when they go into the landfills or trash cans, so that they protect themselves and all. And now they have their own recycling units, two, three, four of them across Pune. Again, I would encourage you all to go and see it once. So it's very heartwarming to see what's happening to the waste of Pune, no? How it's being recycled and how these families are taking care of themselves, and that they're more leading more dignified lives, and the children of all these waste pickers are now getting education and all of that. Then PMC has also tied up with other NGOs like CHF India Foundation and one more group, I think, and the corporates like many of you all who live in Pune may have seen Adar Poonawalla, truck going, and they have this very state of the art equipment to suck all the dirt and garbage into their machines. I believe we spent a lot, Adar Poonawalla spent a lot of money to bring all of this from Europe. I wish we had just opened some factories to produce this. I hope it will be done in future. But right now, yes, so this group is working closely with the PMC and cleaning up Pune wherever possible. And Cummins India is also involved as a corporate. So this is all about PMC, NGOs, and the corporate. What is civil society doing? So there is a group called National Society for Clean Cities. So they meet every Friday, once a month, at the PMC office. They've been given space. They have a large meeting, and each area has their members, like members from housing societies. You have to pay a little fees of 250 rupees per annum, and then you can become participants in this National Society for Clean Cities. And they give their petition to the municipal commissioner on various issues, dengue hai, malaria hai, then clean up our street, or lay the sidewalk, footpath, whatever. So all these issues are taken up in these Friday meetings by different areas of Pune and expressed to the PMC. So this again is a very good practice by a civil society inclusion, I would say, or participation. So having said that, I thank you very much. And again, because I've worked so much with children and women at high risk, I like to share, this. There were these were rural children who talked about climate change, and they have invariably said that it is plastic that's going into our rivers. There was this in Bihar. There was this Kosi flood. Kosi got, there were huge floods some years ago, and that's when this thing came up. And children expressed how what had happened to them. Many of them had to give up school just to support their families. They had to work because of the floods. And I remember they had all come for a conference once to our office, and in the break, some of the 2-3 of the children came to us and said, आप तो क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में बोल रहे हो, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट क्लाइमेट चेंज, बट you have given us tea in a plastic cup, they said, and the AC is on in the hall. So this was embarrassing for us, and it was a wake-up call. I said, yes, we are doing all these things unknowingly, and causing climate change and ruining our environment. And this was on media. We were trying to see how much media is talking about environmental laws and rights and waste management, and are they including women and children in these reportage, and what are our acts, environmental acts saying? We have many very good environmental acts, over 12 of them, I think the government has produced. And but are they really being implemented, and how much are we participating in the decision making, no? So again, these are all reflection questions, and I hope we'll be able to together do something about waste management. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really informative session. So we have few questions
Yes.
which we would like you to answer for us. As you spoke a lot about segregation. So how can we ensure that segregation of waste takes place?
Yes, there are many views. One is a punitive view that people who don't segregate should be punished. They should be fined, or they should be shamed. Yeah, but in a country like us, where the population is, who would you catch? So I think it's our own responsibility. Somehow bringing awareness, no, in people, it will definitely help. I don't think education has anything to do with that. It's basic awareness that can be built up by talking, dialoguing with people and all. The other view is start making housing societies, every family pay for waste management. That means we give some money. Many societies are doing that, I think, as part of their maintenance fees. They charge for waste management also. That means if a housing society does not have an area for what is that called, water reharvesting or composting, agar wo nahi karte hai, if they are not doing it in that society, particular housing society, then they have to pay an extra amount to the municipality. Now, this is decided in a lot of societies, or the society only takes care of all of that. So, this is another view, that we pay from our pocket or you get punished. So, I think the other option looks better, where we pay from our pocket. So, there is a sense of ownership, and there's a sense of accountability over there. Yeah.
Ma'am, is plastic totally harmful or of no use?
No, I think we cannot do without plastic. But the plastic waste, if you have seen some of the reports, it's used for making roads. So that, yeah, if it is treated properly, then it definitely can be used for making roads. It save a lot of money. One of the uses.
Yeah. Next question is, ma'am, what is the solution for the lack of interest by civil society in waste management?
Yeah, because I think we don't look at the long term consequences. There's no vision. It's so much, we're so self-centered, or become so selfish, that we are not thinking of the future generations. And it's our children who are going to suffer. And like somebody said, we've borrowed this planet from our children, and it's actually theirs. So it's that sense of responsibility, accountability, and saying ownership also. This is mine. Ye mera ghar hai. The whole planet is my home. So I have to look after it. And also, I'm going to be here for some time. It's going to go to someone else. So that mindfulness, I feel a more spiritual perspective, like Gandhi ji, also, that he felt this was the truth, that we owed something to our land, our mother, the country. So that sense has to somehow come into people. It will come through dialoguing, having more seminars. Also, I think award for some time. I don't believe all awards always work, but yes, acknowledging when people do well. Communities are, when they're doing very well, acknowledging them, awarding them, that will definitely help. And children, I believe, if you can train children to understand segregation and waste management. They are wonderful in doing it. And neighborhoods. I think having neighborhood parliaments somehow, neighborhood people coming together, 30 families coming together, forming a parliament, that will help a lot in tackling this issue.
Yeah, that was a good idea, ma'am. That if we train our children from their early childhood, I think when they become adults or in their young age, they'll be mindful of how they are, managing their wastes.
Yes, yes.
Also, as now you are associated with National Institute of Naturopathy and working in a naturopathy unit, how can naturopathy contribute in saving the environment? Your views on that?
Yeah, I feel I always say that NIN is like a gold mine, and all of you doctors are like these golden nuggets. I go on saying that, but I really mean it, because I think you all are equipped with so much knowledge, and and I think the wisdom is also there in a lot of you. The way you treat patients and all, you all are looking at preventive healthcare, which means you are obviously stopping biomedical trash from increasing, from getting generated. If people are coming to naturopathy, taking advantage of nature cure, and then preventing illness, diseases, they're not going to go to hospitals. They're not going to go to a medical store and pick up all that plastic and drugs and all of that, and syringes and whatever. So in that sense, you are definitely contributing. Then from a mental health perspective, yes, yoga, the use of yoga, then some of these other Chinese methods of acupressure and all of that, that can be so calming. No, it is very calming and brings in a lot of mindfulness. This will definitely reduce that consumeristic attitude and the selfishness that comes seeps into us as we grow up as adults. So definitely, I think naturopathy has a large role to play in climate change and waste management, and bringing more peace of mind.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving your time. And I'm sure all our viewers will be really benefited and they'll get time to reflect in their own lives, how they are managing their waste or, how they can reduce and how they can contribute in managing the waste properly. So thank you so much, ma'am. NIN offers fellowship in Gandhian philosophy. The aim of this fellowship is to reintroduce Gandhian values in the society by imparting education and training in Gandhian principles, and also to establish NIN as a living memorial of Mahatma Gandhi as a center for Gandhian studies. If anyone of you is interested to take up this fellowship, can kindly get in touch with us. Any graduate can apply for this program, and it is also open for foreign nationals. You can also follow National Institute of Naturopathy on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also subscribe our YouTube channel for knowing about the activities of NIN. Thank you. NIN offers fellowship in Gandhian philosophy. The aim of this fellowship is to reintroduce Gandhian values in the society by imparting education and training in Gandhian principles, and also to establish NIN as a living memorial of Mahatma Gandhi as a center for Gandhian studies. If anyone of you is interested to take up this fellowship, can kindly get in touch with us. Any graduate can apply for this program, and it is also open for foreign nationals. You can also follow National Institute of Naturopathy on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also subscribe our YouTube channel for knowing about the activities of NIN. Thank you.